So we'll go ahead and we'll create the TAPs file. It's just called TAPs. And the first example we're going to show you is we're going to tap the entire domain. So once again, our organization's email domain is example.com, and you have Al at example.com, Bob at example.com, Chester at example.com, and so on and so forth. You're going to go ahead and create a second domain. Guess we should do that before we create the TAP file here. We'll go ahead and we'll create a separate domain. Let's check and make sure example.com is here. And no, it is not. Okay. So we'll create example.com. With the password of example. Okay. Entry is out of order. Oh, okay. It was just messing up in the configuration file. Sorry about that. A little troubleshooting there. I just remembered that we had put it in our receipt host file, and that's why it was showing the out of order error. So let's go ahead and let's correct that. Okay. We'll go ahead and it should be okay there. So now we should have example.com there. Okay. So now we're going to go back and we're going to add another domain, and this is going to be the domain we tap to. Now remember, this does not have to be a real domain, so we'll just call it fakedomain.com with the password of fake. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and get into our TAPs file. And the first thing we're going to do is the first example we're going to use is we're going to tap the entire example.com domain. So to do this, we put in .star at example.com colon, we need to give it a real user, so we'll say postmaster at fakedomain.com. Okay, now what this does is this says that this is using Perl regex. So the period means match any character, at, or any combination thereof with the star, match any and all characters at example.com. And since this is the TAPs file, it's telling it to match anything and everything at example.com and tap it and send a copy of it to postmaster at fakedomain.com. Now this is going to be for all incoming and outgoing emails. So we'll go ahead and we'll save this. And that's all you have to do for the TAPs file. Now when any email comes in for any user at example.com, it's going to be tapped, and a copy is going to be sent over to postmaster at fakedomain.com. You don't have to restart Qmail, you don't have to rebuild any data CDBs or anything like that. So once again, we'll go back in here and say you wanted to send it to, say you had another account and you called it archive. You could tap everything that comes in or leaves for example.com and send it to archive at fakedomain.com. Now the next example we'll show you is how to tap a specific email address. And this one's pretty straightforward. Say we have Bob at example.com and we want to tap all of Bob at example.com's emails because for whatever reason you need a copy of all of his incoming outgoing emails, whether that's for archival purposes or auditing purposes, or he's the CPA and he's dealing with something that legally requires a copy of all incoming outgoing emails. Whatever reason, I personally don't care. You can snoop on whoever you want. But okay, so we have Bob at example.com. We want to tap all of his emails. So we do Bob at example.com colon, and we're going to send them to Bob at fakedomain.com. Now remember, any tap you do has to go to a valid email address. So if we're going to tap bob@example.com and send it to bob@fakedomain.com, you need to make sure that you're going to go over there and actually create the bob@fakedomain email address. Otherwise, this is going to cause you some other headaches and issues. And we will save and close that file. Go ahead and get a cat of our tabs so we can see what's in there. And once again, you do not need to restart Qmail, but now any emails that come in for Bob or Bob sends from example.com are going to get tapped, or a copy is going to be sent to bob@fakedomain.com. This logic here probably wouldn't work too well. You'll want either one or the other, because you're kind of hitting a little bit of circular logic here too. You're tapping the entire domain and you're tapping a single user. So this, probably not the best way to do that. You'll won't want to mix the two. Let's go ahead and edit our taps file again, and we'll remove these entries. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is if you want to tap everything for your email server. Now this is going to be all incoming and all outgoing emails, regardless of who the user is or whatever. Now to do this, you definitely need to have an external email account. You cannot put the domain on this machine even if it's a fake domain, because you're going to be tapping everything for the server and you get caught in that circular loop again. So say we have a external server that we built using these video tutorials for absolutely nothing but archiving emails. And we'll say that that server, we set up a domain on it called otherserver.com, and we want to tap everything that comes in and out for our email server here, regardless of what domain it is or what email address it is. To do that, you just do $::, which means match everything regardless of what characters are in there. That includes the @ and the domain designator, and we'll call it taps at I forgot what we're going to call the other server now. We'll say we set up a domain on the other server called tap server, and the user is taps. And then you would save and close this. And now what this is going to do is $:, tells the tap patch to match everything that comes in and out for this server, and tap it and send a copy of it to taps@tapserver.com. Now remember, you have to have a remote email server for this, because you're going to get caught in some circular logic. And you can set up another email server using these video tutorials, or build it yourself, do whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be a Qmail server. Just make sure that you actually do have a domain on there and a valid email account to tap all of the mail to. It doesn't have to, once again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a valid domain. You could do some SMTP routing magic and send it over to a actual fake domain, but as far as the mail server is concerned, it would be a real domain. So go ahead and we'll save and we'll close out of here. And we'll cat our taps file. And once again, you do not need to restart or reload Qmail in any way, shape, or form to have this applied. Now, any email that comes in for our server, regardless of the domain or regardless of the user, is going to get forwarded to taps@tapserver.com. Since we're not actually going to be running any taps on here, we'll go ahead and we can just remove the file, and that turns your taps off. Easy as pie. Now your mail server acts like normal. But once again, if you want to tap a specific domain, you just create the taps file and you'd put .star@domain.com : the address you want to send it to. And that will tell the taps patch to make a copy of all incoming and outgoing email and send it off to the other server or other domain, which once again does not have to necessarily be a valid domain on the server. It can be anything you want. You can see in some of the previous examples we did create a domain called fakedomain.com that we tapped all of the email to. And that is taps in a nutshell. You do not have some of the granular control in Qmailtoaster with the taps patch. When you tap an email address or tap a domain, you get everything. incoming and outgoing. You can't differentiate between either or. I know some other mail servers and some other patches for Qmail in general, you can differentiate between them, and that may be a feature added into Qmailtoaster in the future, but it is not at this time. So when you tap something, you get all incoming and outgoing. And that concludes this video tutorial, and hopefully this should have explained the Qmail TAPs to you, and you should have a thorough understanding of it and how it works. You can do some advanced settings with the TAPs. If you look up Perl regex and use any of those matches, you can match specific email addresses or a combination of characters or whatever you want. I'd say probably 99% of the people either tap one email address or one domain or the entire server. So using that advanced pattern recognition is just not something you really need. Last little note with the Qmail TAPs, you can stack it. So if you have, say, 50 domains on the server, but you want to tap 10 of them, you can just put one tap per line in that TAPs file, and it'll tap them. You don't have to do all 50 of them. It's not an all or nothing type thing. You just put in the 10 that you want to tap, and it will then start tapping it and sending it off to the destination you define. And once again, that concludes our video tutorial, and you should understand TAPs pretty well now, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.